Ethiopia-Tigray regional and world leaders have hailed the peace agreement between Ethiopia's government and the Tigray rebels, raising hopes for an end to 2 years of brutal conflict marked by atrocities, including killings and starvation. Let's look at the Ethiopian economy now that with Matt Kinniger, practice leader, Sub-Saharan Africa, front of you, join us via Zoom. Great to have you on the program.
Hi, Laddie. Good to be on the program today.
Yeah, so quite a landmark agreement there. What is the outlook for the conflict now that a truce has been agreed?
Yeah, well, it's worth remembering, first of all, that this is a truce and not a lasting political settlement or a peace treaty. And there is no guarantee, in our view here at Frontier View, that the truce will hold. And this is because there is a risk that we could see splinter rebel fighters launching attacks on the central government in the future. We could also see the lack of trust between the federal government and the TPLF, resulting in either side, claiming that the terms of the truce have been broken. We have seen a truce earlier in the year being broken in August this year, so certainly the outlook is incredibly uncertain. Having said that, the truce was largely expected, and this is because both sides are extremely keen to end fighting. The Tigrayans have a very strong interest in preventing the humanitarian crisis, which is pretty catastrophic, from getting worse. And also the federal government really wants to limit the damage that the civil war is causing to the economy and also to the country's international standing. So although we're not out of the woods yet for the conflict, and there is risk of fighting starting again at some point in the future, it certainly is a step in the right direction.
And what's your outlook for the economy now that we have this truce?
Yeah, so the outlook for the economy hinges almost directly, almost entirely on the outlook for the conflict. The conflict has taken a very severe toll on the Ethiopian economy. The country faces extremely severe foreign currency shortages, and in our view, this is because the government has been prioritizing foreign currency access for the procurement of arms, as well as essential things like food and medicines, but very severe foreign currency shortages at the moment. Inflation has also been above 30% year on year since at least the middle of 2021. So very difficult financial conditions there at the moment, and also investors are really holding back because of the conflict. So provided that the truce holds and provided that we move towards a peace deal, then the outlook for the economy will improve. Unfortunately, at the moment, our current view is that the economy will grow by only about 4% this year, maybe 5 or 6% next year, really driven by infrastructure investment led by the government. But we're not going to see the economy grow by the sort of 8 to 10% figures that we were seeing pre-COVID. So we should expect the economy to remain pretty weak in terms of compared to recent historical performance, as the effects of the civil war continue to weigh on investment and sentiment.
And I'm wondering, Matt, how are businesses, managing with the effects of the conflict?
Yeah, so the most direct effect of the conflict is the foreign currency shortages. Most companies are really struggling at the moment to access foreign currency, and in our view, this will persist for the foreseeable future until at least the conflict comes to an end. But what we're seeing, most of the clients that we advise, most multinational firms operating in Ethiopia, are kind of sitting tight for the foreseeable future. Many companies were increasing their investment plans in Ethiopia before COVID, and they had very strong ambitions and growth plans for the market. Most companies have put those investment plans on hold, although we're not seeing companies withdraw from the market, really. And this is because the economy continues to grow, even though it's much weaker than it was before the conflict and before COVID. And also the economy is a very large and largely untapped opportunity for many multinationals and many businesses. That said, the longer the conflict goes on, the less likely that companies will be able or willing to commit to the market. So we're all hoping for a much quicker end to the conflicts over the next year, so that businesses can get back to usual and invest more in the market. So certainly hoping for the best outcome.
Yeah, hoping for the best. But how has it affected trade, between, Ethiopia and their East African neighbors?
So data is actually quite spotty at the moment when we look at Ethiopia, although we are seeing relatively strong exports growth from the country. So despite the conflict, despite what's happening, and this is actually one of the reasons why the economy continues to grow, coffee exports have grown quite strongly over the course of last year, although most of the exports are directed towards other parts of the world, not necessarily East Africa. And actually, Ethiopia's economy is not that closely integrated with the likes of Kenya, for example. Most East African economies as well are not directly affected by, well, the trade between Ethiopia and East African economies are not directly affected by the conflict because the conflict is mainly sort of isolated and located in the north. So at the moment, it hasn't had a direct impact, but the risk to trade for Ethiopia is if we do see a resumption of fighting, we could see a bit of a disruption to the Djibouti-Addis Ababa railway line, and this is vital for Ethiopia's imports and exports. For the foreseeable future, we are likely to see a minimal disruption, but there is a risk to the outlook in that regard.
All right. Thank you so much. I was Matt Kindiger there, practice leader, Sub-Saharan Africa Front Review. It's great having you on the program.
Thanks very much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too.